Welcome to the Io podcast. I'm your number one host, Belash.
Hi guys, listen to the Iron Nibbles Tech podcast.
Welcome to the Io podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Io and let's get interactive. I'm sure you're going to enjoy today's topic. God created human being once again. He gave him 2 legs to walk, to go to places. But now human beings decided they wanted to go faster. So then they found horses and then they rode behind horses. They said horses were enough. So they created bicycles. Now they rode on bicycles. Bicycle wasn't enough. So they said, I need to develop a car. Then they did cars. Now they developed cars and they named them after animals. Well, they called some Jaguar. Now, that was not enough. They said they wanted to fly. Then the Wright brothers crashed the planes. You see? Now, they are thinking about going to space. Well, they went to space. Well, why am I saying all of these things, yeah? We are talking about the future of transportation, the mode of transportations, and how technology would affect it. I'm your number one host. You can call me Melash. As you all know, I have one of the greatest people on our panel, Daniel. Sammy, are you there?
Yep, boss, I'm here.
Danny, are you there?
Yes, boss, I'm here.
All right, let's see how tech changes transportation. So back then, my first experience with a bicycle, I got hit. Well, it wasn't the foreign one somewhere. The dad would come and then say, oh, sorry, no, it was the one that you got hit and then you have to pick yourself up and ride the bicycle again. So let's see. I would like to go with Sammy first. Sammy, you are in Europe.
Yeah.
You are in USA, yes? United States of America. Donald Trump's bosom. Tell me something. How is transportation at your end?
It's the best. I think it's part of the best in the world. I haven't used any of the new helicopters with like Uber and like Uber Air and all of that and Lyft Air, but yeah, I've been hearing great things, and yeah, it's increasingly getting better with like Tesla and all of those new electric car ECs around. Yeah, it's going amazing.
Great. Daniel, you ride in Keteke in Ghana and you ride on TroTro in Ghana. How was your experience?
It's fantastic, man. It's phenomenal. The experience, I think, is uncomparable. I might even say it's better than the one Sammy is even talking about.
Seriously?
Because you get to see a lot of interactions. Yeah, you meet different people and different, different personalities. It's a very interesting ride. But in terms of comfort and maybe ease and speed, no, man, it really sucks. It really sucks. But with the people that you meet, they are very interesting. The driver, his conductor, the interactions between the conductor and the people in the car, man, that's like a comedy show while you commute. It's very nice.
So Daniel is just trying to be polite. We call them the TroTro driver and the mate. Well, for who is the mate and who is the driver, we'll figure it out, because at that point in time, you'll be hearing somebody shouting your destination and somebody else driving and shouting at the one shouting at your destination. Anyways, if you've never lost your money in a TroTro, you will not understand what I'm saying. Now, back to the case, yeah? With NFCs and smart payments for transportation, I've seen a lot of things happen in the world that makes transportation a lot easier. And now human beings get to places faster, like trains. Some are even going underwater and everything. So tell me, what's your best experience you've ever had when it comes to transportation? Sammy. Oh, you
Best
can even
experience I've
add,
ever had.
yeah, best experience. You can even talk about if you went into the hot air balloon, or that's part of transportation.
No, I've only done skydiving. I haven't done no other balloon. Sometime soon though. But best experience I've had. Actually, this was in Seattle. It has to do more of the social experience, as Daniel was saying. So it's not like in these parts of the world, there are no cars with social aspects inside them. There are. So there are buses in city-run buses, and you have to pay to actually use them. So when Seattle, trams also in Amsterdam, these two things, like buses in Seattle, trams in Amsterdam, have been my best in terms of like the social aspect. With feel, comfort, and a luxury, I would say a Tesla.
A
Like
Tesla.
it's that piece of hardware is just amazing. It's beautiful. Yeah. So that would be my best experience so far. Like I would pick that over any car. Yeah.
Great.
It's
Daniel, you don't
beautiful.
have Tesla. Please tell me.
So don't
What do
ask me.
you know, I'm actually trying to change the question. You don't have a Tesla. Nobody has Tesla in Ghana, I beg. Even the richest person here does not have a Tesla, unless you want to prove me wrong and show me he doesn't have. So guess what?
Mm.
How would you feel if your TroTro driver was not sitting in the driving seat, but the TroTro was driving?
Wait.
Yeah, and your mate is
Well,
actually like the car itself shouting, Medina, 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 Medina.
I think you're kind of jumping the gun here. Easy. Yeah, take it easy. I think. Well, that is where we are headed currently with all these um, autonomous vehicles. I think that's what they're called, autonomous vehicles,
Yeah.
and the self-driven cars. We are all headed in that direction, and uh, that is it's as exciting as it is scary. Because regardless of how risky the human element in driving cars are, it's robots driving your car is a very new experience, and it's not something that I think people would easily ease into because this is like nobody is driving your car.
A
That
ghost
is
is
a
in your
very
car.
scary
There's a ghost driving my car.
I don't think it
So
would
I
look
think
like
it's a
that in
very
the future,
interesting.
though. Do you think so? So
Well,
the only reason why you have a sense of someone driving is because there's a steer. There's that then you change gears with and move it to parking. And I forget the name, but there's a accelerator that you step on and all of that. With self-driving car, you wouldn't
Uh-huh.
even need a driving seat, right? So that sense of having someone like missing someone or missing a driver would be gone, essentially, right? So do you think it would be scary in that
Yeah,
sense?
I do
Yeah.
get that, but see, Samia, I get where you're coming from, and it is true that there will be nothing there. But the problem that I think I would face is that uh, would the car be able to respond like a rational human being would in different circumstances? Yeah, I think maybe in the
Actually
future
better.
that really.
Yes, because how so have you done anything AI?
interesting. I'm just going to leave the discussion to you guys.
Most of what self-driving car is, most of the like AI compartment that it takes is called reinforcement learning, right? It's learning based on rewards. So in the simplest terms, you basically take the car and you plunge it into the environment that the car would be experiencing, and you can, because it's simulated, you can run it over and over and over and over. So if you are having a human driver, right, you would need to experience
Hmm.
a whole load of situations to know how to deal with it, and you need to read just a few. And mind you, like even the DVLA tests and all that don't cover all of them, right? So you learn as you go, experience, right? Now,
Yeah, that's true.
with AI, you can probably like with computer. It's right now it's called big compute. Yes, instead of big data, they call it big compute. You can actually run the entire lifetime of a driver in like probably 2 hours for the computer. And if you are doing that for 2 hours, you could actually, with algorithms and fast computing, do it even more and run like 50 drivers from 50 different countries. So this car would know how to drive in India, how to drive in Ghana, South Africa, Iceland, anywhere in the world, right? So you have
The
an
car would know how
aggregation.
to drive in Ghana.
Yes, anywhere,
My guy,
provided you give it the Ghana scenario.
Gan,
No,
my
what I'm
guy,
saying is,
don't
Oh,
try.
okay.
so what how it works is you give it you create simulation. So there's this company that I actually interviewed with. It's called Applied in Intuit. They're San Francisco based company, and what they do is they create simulation environments for self-driving companies to train their cars inside. So you can give them the environment, and what we said earlier on our previous episode about AI, all they basically need to do is send a drone with a camera to take a snapshot and provide a 3D rendering of how the roads on Ghana are, and use data to actually refine how they look basically, and actions that happen on there. So you can expose the car to um, actions that would happen inside Ghana, and it would know how to drive in Ghana basically. So one of the things that actually, because I've written a lot of papers about self-driving cars actually. So one of an interesting model is, let's say you are driving, there's a car coming to you. The car is driving recklessly. It's the computer in the car can anticipate that it's going to crash with this car, and there are people on the left. There are like three people on the left and three people on the right. The car knows the speed it's going, the speed the other car is coming, how to brace itself for impact so that it would not hit the other person in the other car. If it was a human person, right? There are a lot of you can't predict what the human is going to do. You could go left and kill those two people, go right, kill and injure those seven people, go straight at a certain speed that would actually kill the other person and him in the car. Now, if you expose a self-driving car to this scenario, you can expose it to him 1 billion times. And if you have like an evaluation function or an estimation function, you could actually refine how it reacts to this scenario, and it gives you the best results so that no one dies. You could actually do that because you train it so many times. So when the car sees it on the road, it basically just reacts, right?
So,
So
so
in most sense, it's actually safer than a person driving.
okay. So, Danny,
Mhm.
before we
Yeah.
proceed, I want to just ask you a question. What do you think a Tesla will work in Ghana?
No.
In your honest opinion, before I go back to Sam,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you think a
I think
Tesla
it
will
would.
survive at Circle with all the trotros around it,
I think it would. Of course, it's
and
probably
the
gonna.
and the human beings who do not respect car? Let me put it that way. You think a Tesla will survive?
You know, I think you've seen the Tesla. It looks more scary than most of the cars we have around already. So when the cars see it, they are gonna take a step back and then watch carefully.
Okay, so Sammy,
Yeah.
before our great grandfathers or our grandmothers call your Tesla a ghost car, let me
Mhm.
ask you what is it possible that your self-driving cars, when I say your, you have more knowledge about it, that's why, uh, would end up in an accident? Is it possible? I'm
That
not saying, I'm not
it
saying
is possible.
interesting.
Because most of the data we feed, considering that we create the environment for these cars to train themselves in, given that we are humans, we can't possibly anticipate anything. So you know how there's AlphaGo and there's AlphaZero, the two AI bots who play chess and beat all other people at chess. So AlphaGo beat everyone at chess, right? And then AlphaZero beat AlphaGo. AlphaGo was trained on human games.
Mm-hmm.
AlphaZero trained by playing itself. So it
Mm-hmm.
learned everything from scratch with no human input.
Mm-hmm.
And it beat I think the stats, I don't quote me on this, but it won 33% of the time and actually drew like 60 something percent of the and never lost, never lost. So with these things, AlphaGo is more flawed because it has human inputs, right? With environment, we create the environment. It's our environment, so that's really, we can't really anticipate anything. So accidents are definitely. I don't think it's definite, so I take definitely back, but it could happen. Yes, it could
So
happen.
so who do we blame?
That's a interesting question to ask. I think with the fact that it reduces the so with, if we still have people on the road, right? Like if you have humans driving and self-driving cars also on the road, that's when the conflicts comes inside. Like how, if it happens, was it the fault of the person? What is the fault of the robot? Whatever. Currently, I think technology is progressing faster than governmental policies or policies that define actions and corporates in a society are going as fast. So it's really like no one really knows right now, because the technology right now with the Tesla Model Y, it's fully self-driving, fully. So when I took an Uber, I actually, as with a Tesla, actually in San Francisco, I asked the driver to self-drive, and it's beautiful to see. Like the car is steering itself and everything, but it's not complete. With the Tesla Model Y, it is now, and I think with that, governments would actually be talking about that now after Corona, maybe. But it's a flaw with technology and also governments, that how do you set policies and how do you define rules to because laws actually exist because we want to, or they started to, because we want to give corporates to if you look at the Code of Hammurabi and the Mosaic law, you could see everyone wanted to be assigned like anything that happened, people wanted a corporate to blame. So it's like with this, since governments are not really paying attention, I don't know what will be decided. I would say we should wait to the point where all cars are self-driving, and now we wouldn't even have any accidents on the road, because this car knows the action of this car and knows if it has a fault or not. So it's tricky, but in the sense that we have people and cars on, and self cars on the streets at the same time, that is a tricky bit.
Great.
Yeah. So with that question, I don't know who is to blame, but the government decides that at the end. So we would have to throw that to the policymakers.
So Daniel, would you want to watch Fast and Furious where the car is driving itself and doing stunts? Or would you want to watch Dominic Toretto drive the car and look awesome? Which one would you want? Or would you want McKnight? Is it Michael Knight? Knight Rider. Who watched Knight Rider? Did any of you watch Knight Rider?
Was it a Nicolas Cage movie?
No. It was a whole
Okay.
series of, is like old series where the
I didn't
car
watch it then.
self-drives itself and speaks to the owner and everything.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are kids. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Sammy just agreed he's a kid when it comes to that movie. So. That was just a joke. But that was an old kind of, we used to watch it on TV where the car drives itself and talks and, so we're giving us a glimpse of Tesla happening years after that. I would want to watch a movie where a human being is behind the seats and drive, because I love to drive manual personally, just because of the feel of it. I think self-driving cars would be great when my grandparents are old and I don't want to be the one driving them everywhere. Yeah, perfect. Daniel. Is Daniel with us? Okay. Thanks to COVID, we have to do this on Zoom. Anyways, let me tell you guys, you can check on us on Twitter at IO and you can check on the YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple. We are everywhere. We are also very smart. Of course, it's 21st century. What were you expecting? So the last question I'll ask to wrap up is, how long till we roll out food self-driving cars, which you've told us they're already in the system? How long do we fully roll it out? Obviously, it will be in Europe and in America first. Obviously, Africa will be following if you guys decide to come back home and develop that for us.
How long? I think it's dependent on governments too, because the previous Tesla models actually had self-driving capabilities, but you couldn't use them on the government didn't allow you to that don't allow you to use it on the road. So you and if you're using it too, there should be a person behind the wheel like every time. And so with how long it's already here, but with how long the time limit to actually take the streets and not have to worry about driving when you're going somewhere, I think it's dependent on governments. Since they have been historically slow, um, you can't tell. I also wanted to add a bit about with the movie thing you were talking about. So I think I don't think the next generation would be thinking about driving when they make a movie. So with these things, it's I think for me it's interesting because you are having to new things are going to come up that that don't really depend on the old ways. Like you have a lot of movies now that don't have trains. During the industrial age, it used to be a thing. A lot of the movies where you would see constructions and all. Now it's evolved around hey, the future of tech, robots, and all of that. Previously, it wasn't really that way. It wasn't as defined, right? So you have new concepts coming up and new actions being available for movie writers and directors to integrate into their movies. So it's that I'm excited about, and I think you could have whole new concepts with self-driving cars and not only Fast and Furious with the Torino, whatever his name is. Yeah,
Dominic
I
Toretto.
think
You don't
Toretto.
watch Fast
Yeah,
and Furious, do you?
I do. I've seen it, but a very long time ago. I'm actually a movie freak, so but names I'm not the best at it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love
Hmm.
my Monkstein and
Hmm.
my American muscles. And so I'm going to ask one last thing though. They call a certain company boring
Yeah.
by Elon. Menamenkoka.
Hmm.
But I have to mention it.
Elon Joe Musk.
He just made it very clear. I didn't say it too. I didn't call it boring.
Hey.
I didn't call it boring. Danny, why did you call it boring?
Oh, so,
Well,
but
yeah,
no, go for it. Go for it. My bad.
I think Elon was trying to play around with this particular company of his. That's why he called it the boring company. Because from what I heard, he started this company. Uh, it sounded like a very boring concept, making holes. And
Mm.
boring is very similar to drilling. So it's like making a hole. That's the entire purpose. So the whole company's name is like a pun. It's a play on words just to both excite and to educate. So the boring company. And the main task for this company is just to create underground tunnels. Elon Elon believes that in the future, a lot of futuristic movies talk about how cars will have flying cars and will be using a lot of airspace.
Mm-hmm.
But Elon was of the view that there is more space underground than on the surface. So it would be better to ease traffic by making holes underground for underground movement. He got this idea because he was once stuck in LA traffic, and then so out of his pain, he was able to come up with this particular company, and it's very interesting how he was able to transform a problem to an entire company. And I think just on a side note, this is not part of transportation, but I think most companies start like that. So when there's a problem and you're able to find a solution, it's very often grows into a company. So I think Samir is going to add some more to it though, since he is there and he understands how the traffic over there is.
Oh, for the record, I just learned Sammy has a nickname. Oh, don't worry. Shadow, don't worry, Shadow. I'm not talking of. I'm sure he was playing too much Mortal Kombat, but you add what you have to add, Sammy, before I mention the Shadow again.
Sammy,
And
your coach Shadow?
that's the
Yeah,
nickname,
that was
bro.
my high school. I
So,
think it was only in high school, and then when I did the science and math quiz, that was when it blew up. Yeah, but yeah, that's
Shadow.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear
Yeah, so
you
that
very
was
well.
when the shadow got
Shadow.
nice.
yeah.
Okay, Shadow, add
So
more
that's
to
my
it. We
commission
love this.
for the Boeing company.
Yeah.
I do have I think it, with traveling into like through the earth, it's true you can go deeper than you can fly higher if you're and I think with that is restricted with the fact that you can if you consider only the earth's atmosphere. If you consider beyond, that's when you go to space and all of that, right? Like it's all part of traveling. So I think you can go higher than you can go deeper. But if you that premise changes if you're talking about just the earth. When I
Yeah.
heard first time ahead of this. No, sorry, what did you say?
No, you
Yeah, I'm
continue.
just saying it's just the
Oh,
Earth's atmosphere.
exactly. So when I first heard of this, that was what I thought. I was like, no, he needs to define his premise right. And I am particularly shocked that he got that in LA because there are a lot of like seismic activity going on there. So like earthquakes and all of that. So I think it would be an interesting engineering problem to see how you would go around like earth tremors and all of that. To like since you're going deeper into the earth. So
Mhm.
yeah, that would be interesting. But I am more excited about the like flying or stuff. I honestly think the air is very boring. Like if you look up, it's a blank sky. That's it's actually so I actually have a drone company we are working right now, but
Yeah, I
it,
see.
I it's yeah I think what he's doing it is laudable, but the earth is very unpredictable and we are relatively a very young like visitor on this earth, considering that we are a species. We are very young, so we don't know much of the earth history. We can only predict, but we don't really know much. So I would say the route to go with is in the air. With that you have like more control, and if you look at the you can if okay, so if you look at the success of cars, right, you could tie it to the fact that it came during the industrial revolution. A lot of the people who created cars or developed cars were tied to rich friends and government and all that, so they could actually purport the idea of having cars all over. But one of the key factors was also that we defined a route for the car, right? We said, hey, you can only have them, and we call them road streets and whatever. There are a couple of challenges, and everyone is failing to define a route for it, right? With the plane, based on the altitude they fly at, you can say, oh, let's fly anywhere. But even that one, there are airways that control the paths and the routes in which they fly. And with the advent of drones and flying, not I don't think we'd have flying cars, because the concept of a car is actually stuff and then have them move around. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so Daniel, are you there?
Yeah, I believe so. Are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. The network is messing up a bit. It happens. Guys, what do you guys think about teleportation?
I wouldn't say I have much to say. I haven't read so much into it. I don't think I've even close in our generation. Although I would
Yeah.
say that it's it's how do I say it? Like a lot of science we have right now has brought up a lot of myths to life, but with teleportation it would take some time, I think.
So it's been a great discussion. Thank you, Sammy, for making time. Thank you, Daniel, for making time. We'll catch you on the next episode. But you can just follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, everywhere, including Twitter, at @IONibbles. I was your host, and I'm still your number one host, the hottest, the Lash.